What is going on, everybody? We are back once again with another edition of Sold Separately, brought to you by Wrestling Republic. I'm here with my usual co-host, stoked to break down some action figure action. We've owed you this one for a long time. I feel a little obligated to say that. We've owed you one. Here it is. And you're not gonna get let down again. I assure you. I assure you, because these shows are going to be coming out week in, week out, like you've never seen before. Before we get started, let me send this one straight to Philadelphia, all the way across the country to my good friend, head of reviewing, Anthony Ricciardi. What's good?
I'm doing all right. I'm very much looking forward to doing the show. This is the second part of the Sting tribute. It's started a while back, and now we're ready to go and give the people what they wanted, which was more sold separately on a more consistent basis, which is our intention. And let's get into the Stinger.
I'm fired up myself, too. Speaking of the Stinger, put him right in the middle of the screen here. Let's talk about this 2016 Mattel Elite Collection Defining Moments Series 6 Sting figure ant. This is a good looking one. Good old USFA, stars and stripes for days. I've enjoyed it since 2016. I don't have it personally in my collection,
Mm-hmm.
but to me, it's one of the most spot on Sting throwback type figures ever made. How do you feel about it?
Yeah, I don't have this one either. I do have a Surfer Sting, but it's not this particular one. But it is one of the most iconic looks of Sting's career. It goes back to the Great American Bash with him and Flair, and it's one that's been emulated by Matt Cardona, who's done it and has a Mattel figure in the same attire. When you think about the iconic looks of Sting during his 40-year career, this is one of the most constant ones that people mention. The Surfer Sting. We obviously never saw Surfer Sting in WWE because by the time he got there, he wasn't able to pull off the blonde flat top. But it lives immortally through the figures and through the footage and video games and so on and so forth. But I don't know if we'll see another Surfer Sting come out, obviously because he's not with WWE and Mattel. I don't know how that really works with the whole licensing,
I think there's the only chance would be on the AEW side, to your point, right?
Yeah, I'm just not sure. I know Sting owns Sting and owns the Crow, and obviously has done the look, but I don't know when it comes to action figures if that falls into some weird WCW ownership territory or not.
Great
That's the
point.
only thing I don't know. I mean, we have seen. It was obviously in the previous episode. We have seen Jax release a Surfer Sting when he was in TNA, so it's possible.
Yeah.
But considering the fact we have not really seen it yet, and he's kind of retired, and I don't know how exactly if he's under. I mean, obviously AEW I don't think has Legends deals, but if he's under some type of licensing deal, there's a possibility. But for the time
Well,
being,
interesting enough, by the way, to your point there,
mhm,
maybe our friends over at Powertown is our best shot. If you're looking at like an independent type deal,
mhm,
something like that, and they've made great figures. We are big Powertown fans over
mhm,
here at Sold
yep.
Separately. Like those are it's an outstanding line of action figures. It is that to see a Surfer Sting. Maybe if I believe they did get the likeness for Luger, if I'm not mistaken.
For you're talking about Power Town, I know he has. Obviously, it'll be in a future episode. Mattel has revealed a Luger figure. I believe he's under a Legends deal with WWE. So I
Okay,
think I
okay,
think he's under the same type of thing that like Ted
I'm
DiBiase was
mistaken on
under,
that.
and he couldn't make it in. But I mean, there are a number of people like I believe the Pothos, Randy,
Right.
Randy's in this weird situation where multiple companies are making him, but not Mattel. So so Sting is one of those ones because he owns the character. In theory, he could easily sign and get multiple figures made by multiple companies if he wanted to, assuming he's not under some type of Legends deal with AEW, which we don't know.
And Sting as a guy that's a little stinger, no question. To this
Mm-hmm.
day, one of the best action figure translation wise wrestlers
Mm-hmm.
you have. You have multiple iterations, multiple beautiful figures, and that's why we're doing 2 episodes on him.
Mm-hmm.
Like, right? That's the simple reality is the guy is that darn good. But really quickly, let's go to our next slide here, Ant.
Mm-hmm.
Let's talk about the defining moment Sting
Yes.
from 2015. It's a year before, but it's Crow Sting,
Mm-hmm.
so it's a little bit different.
Yeah.
I want you to talk a bit about this one because it is
Yeah.
special. It's technically his WWE debut, correct?
This one I do have in my collection. I do not have it in the box anymore. It's in my display case in my media room. This was the first WWE released or Mattel released Sting figure. This is after he left TNA when he signed with WWE. Obviously, he made his debut at the Survivor Series, and but this was the first one. This was supposed to be, Starcade '96 Sting. Obviously, for the first Sting figure, they wanted his most iconic look, and obviously, there is no more iconic look for Sting than Crow Sting. I may have mentioned this on the previous episode. I'm not exactly sure how legally they were ever able to do Crow Sting in the first place because it it pretty much is inspired by the movie The Crow. And you figure there would be some trademark or whatever, but at this point, after all the years he's been doing Crow Sting for over 30 years at this point, um, I think he's got a pass regardless. But yeah, this is one of the most iconic ones. It came with the trench coat. Uh, Conveniently enough, while we're recording this, San Diego Comic Con's going on. When they announced this figure, he made a surprise appearance on the Mattel panel for the announcement of this figure, which people lost their minds that we were getting Crow Sting from Mattel. Um, One of the figures that we did not get, and it's not on this list, so I'm not spoiling anything. There was supposed to be one more Sting figure. It was supposed to be a Target exclusive for Legends, and it was supposed to be the original Crow Sting, which just had the 2 lines when he was in the rafters. That was supposed to come out. His licensing deal ran out with WWE, so the figure was never actually released. Um, so no one has released it, obviously, as of yet. Again, possibility of Powertown, possibility of AEW. The only way the Mattel one ever comes out is if he somehow signs a Legends deal with WWE at some point.
By the way, I completely agree with you. You're right on all of that, but I do have to make fun of myself for a quick second. I got on the freeway this morning and I was like, why is everybody going south?
Mm-hmm.
San Diego Comic Con. Well done, Clark. Well done. Well played.
It's one of the things that's really
Whoop,
kind of cool.
right over my head.
One of the things that's really kind of cool is, as you can see in the picture, he's got the necklace, which I think
Yes.
this is the only one that has it. I could be wrong, but I believe this is the only one that has
I
that.
believe you're as far as my knowledge is concerned,
Hmm.
I think that's the only one that has the necklace. It's it's the closest to his WWE debut, but it's in a weird way with the hair a mix back to WCW.
Yeah, it's the Starcade '96 Sting when he
It
faced
is.
Hogan. That was the intention behind it. So yeah, it's. I mean, listen, the look of Sting, that face paint is so iconic, and
It
he's
is.
changed it here and there, but it's always been that. The hair's changed a little, you know, by him aging. But as a whole, that's been his look since like '96 for the most part, other than changes here and there. But that's been the look.
Absolutely. Let's move on to our next one though. Let's
Yes.
talk about a 3-pack. How about
Yes.
a 3-pack here? We've got the it's the 2017, correct me if I'm wrong here, Ant.
Hmm.
It's the 2017 WWE Mattel Elite Collection, then now forever multi-pack.
Hmm.
Bash at the Beach, but it's Lex, as you can see.
with face
It's
paint.
Savage and Sting,
Mm-hmm.
all with face paint. Do not get confused. That is not the Ultimate Warrior.
Yes.
It's not. It's Lex Luger. But what an interesting pack to release,
Yeah.
especially as an elite pack, Ant.
Well, see, here's the thing. On a previous episode of the Daily a few weeks ago, for the Throwback Thursday portion, which, by the way, for people to know, if they haven't, if this comes out before, Throwback Thursday is going to be its own thing. But at the time when it was on the Daily, we covered the Hulk Hogan turn, the start of the NWO. That's what this match, the set is based on. It's based on the 1996 Bash at the Beach. Sting, Luger, and Macho represented WCW against the foreign invaders of the NWO. Oddly enough, they did not release a matching set for Hogan, Hall, and Nash. I don't know why. I mean, we've seen Hall and Nash and Hogan. We've seen releases separate, but never a 3-pack. Which I'm a little surprised why they would not have done that. I don't know if it was during that weird period where Hogan was persona non grata. I don't remember the time frame, so that might have been the reason why they did not release a matching 3-pack to go with it. Um,
Fair.
and as far as I know, it is
Isn't he
the
kind of still?
yeah over the past over the past couple days since this started. Yeah, maybe. Um, but it is the only pack that has Macho Man and Luger with the face paint. So the only way to get that is this. It's probably the only one to get that Bash Sting as well. And it's one of the rare Sting figures that has the dark hair and the face paint.
Yes.
The colorful face paint. Let me put it that way.
Surfer face paint.
It's a surfer Sting. I believe that might be the only one.
It's almost like the prerequisite to Crow Sting, if that makes sense.
Yes.
And that's the way that I would put it personally, where it's like this is right before in the perfect spot.
This is just before Sting's heart was broken. In the fact that like WCW, it was the start with this.
Yes.
And I think, if I'm not mistaken, Clark can correct me if I'm wrong, if you remember, didn't he cut a promo in that look? And I think it was before the Bash,
Yes.
where like he was disenchanted with WCW, but obviously he would or it was probably right after this. This is before he turned. Yeah, this was after this, and then
he started to get darker.
Yes.
The change started to happen as soon as the hair was dyed.
Yes.
That's where I honestly think, in not to like talk about myself too much, but like some of the times when I commented on Cody, especially when he was in AEW, the hair change just was like so Sting to me. It was like, don't telegraph it like that.
Well, keep in mind, here's another thing to factor in. Sting might have went darker because, remember, for anybody that doesn't know, he was the backup plan if Hogan didn't waive his creative control.
I actually think he was the original plan and became the backup plan once Hogan agreed.
The version that has been told was, I believe, and somebody correct me if I'm wrong, but from what I recall, Bischoff went to Hogan, said, "Hey, we want to do this." And Hogan went, "That doesn't work for me, brother." And then he went to Sting. And then, as Kevin Nash puts it, Hogan saw that money train leaving the station, and he wasn't going to let it leave without him being on it.
Yep.
And then it went back to the original Hogan. But I think Sting was as close to being the turncoat as anybody that's not named Hulk Hogan.
Sting would have been wild. I mean, and speaking of wild,
yes,
he does end up donning those 3 letters, the NWO, and in this figure, as a Wolfpack fan myself, this one's also from 2016. It's a WWE Mattel Elite collection. It's a ringside exclusive. Honestly, the cutoff, the Wolfpack cutoff, with the red and black paint is money.
Mm-hmm.
But what people don't realize is this was arguably the worst part of Sting's career at
Mm-hmm.
WCW.
Mm-hmm.
As good as it looked, as
Mm-hmm.
cool as it looked, and as fun as the introduction to the Wolfpack was,
Mm-hmm.
in execution, it was not in any way what we wanted. Anthony, do you own this figure and what do you think about it? I mean, we're spending a lot of time in 2016 here.
Yeah. Well, obviously, once Mattel got the license, they went toy crazy. I mean, there's a few licenses for wrestlers that are, quote unquote toyetic that like scream you need to make a figure for. Macho Man, Rey Mysterio, and obviously Sting is one of them as well. I believe this is the only Elite Wolfpack Sting that was made. This is one that I do have in my collection. It's in the same display case as the Defining Moments one. I know this is one that you wanted, Clark, but missed the boat on.
Yep.
And it is an iconic look. The cutoff shirt is a nice idea. Uh, because it was the only Wolfpack Sting that they made, I was a little disappointed that it did not come with the trench coat like the Defining Moments did.
Yeah.
That's the only thing that I really wish it would have had. I'm sure I can probably get a custom one if I really wanted. But that's the one piece that's missing. Like you said, this thing visually looked very cool. The Wolfpack music is beloved. They're still selling Wolfpack merch to this day. But like you said, character wise, it made no sense because for years Sting is battling against WCW. He's the lone warrior representing WCW against the evil NWO. And then he just turns his back on WCW and joins an alternative NWO that was founded by Kevin Nash, who is an original NWO member that he was feuding with.
What makes it more frustrating to me is there was logic in the initial part of it.
Mm-hmm.
It's like Luger's his guy.
Yeah.
And Luger was the key, like Luger's his buddy. I mean, the initial tag team between him and Luger when Luger came into WCW pre-NWO, Luger's the heel, he's the face. Can they coexist was invented there.
Yes.
It was. That's what every tag match was. You had two of your biggest stars wrestling alongside each other as best friends. One good guy, one bad guy.
Mm-hmm.
And they booked it well for that stretch. The logic of him joining in the first place because of Luger was great. What they didn't capitalize on, and I've been bitter about this since I was freaking 8 years old.
Let it out, Clark. Let it out.
Bitter about it since I was 8. Is why doesn't Luger just put him in the torture rack and be like, look, why didn't you join earlier? I thought you were really my friend. Finally play that full turnout and mess him up.
Yeah.
Let him do the paint in red a couple times. And then just decimate him. And they left that stone unturned. They left him in the Wolfpack. They left him there as a secondary piece to Kevin Nash. I mean, Scott Hall wasn't even in the Wolfpack. He was black and white.
Scott Hall had this random, like, sort of yes, sort of no at one point with the Wolfpack. But one of the other interesting things, not particularly about this figure, but Sting as a whole, when he retired from AEW, Clark, as you know, they released this print that has like all the different eras of Sting. This is the one Sting that is not on that print. And
that's fascinating.
Which I don't.
If you look at the final match, his son dressed as that Sting.
Yeah, and they released T-shirts with it too. So I really don't know why. I don't know if there was a legal reason.
I never thought of it that way.
I mean, I don't know if there's a legal reason that they couldn't put it in print. Because I mean, you could have just had him in black.
I mean, his son was in black and red paint in the match.
But it's the only thing missing from the chronology. It's an awesome piece that I have. but the one Sting is missing is the iconic Wolfpack Sting.
I totally have not thought of it that way, but that's one of those ones where I'm like, why? That it's a
Yeah.
mystery that may never be solved. But let's move on to the next figure.
Yep.
And in fact, we're gonna camera cut it so that it actually makes sense. Thank you, Ant.
Yep.
And we've got this is Sting's WWE debut in my eyes.
The WrestleMania appearance.
That's what this is. This is
Mm-hmm.
2017. Only a year later, we're looking at the Mattel Elite Collection Hall of Fame Series 4 Sting.
Mm-hmm.
The red, the red coat.
Yes.
I love it.
This is one of those ones that, like, I remember when he came out with this, and again, it's surreal because we've always wanted Sting to get his WrestleMania moment. Obviously, the match we wanted was him and Taker. Obviously, it never happened, but just the visual of him in that, like, the coat was the most elaborate one that I remember seeing him wear. I mean, he wore a lot of elaborate coats, but like, it felt like a WrestleMania coat. Like, it felt like this guy is at the Super Bowl, he's at the big stage.
Yep.
He's finally made it. And I'm not saying that to belittle his career at all. He's probably the most successful guy in this business that never had the machine behind him up to that point when he got to WWE. But to get on that grandest stage and say whatever you want. I know there's wrestlers today and there are people that go, oh, well, WrestleMania is not the goal.
It's the goal.
I call BS on that, to be perfectly honest. I think the people
Fair.
that say that are the ones that legitimately they know in their heart of hearts they're
Yep.
not getting to Mania, and I get it, but so the only negative that I have, this was a Target exclusive. I do have this one. The only thing they went with Target, yes. I wish they would have went with a cloth goods coat. They went with the rubber.
Cool. It's rubber.
I saw somebody online, and I don't know if they sell them, but somebody made customs, and it's like high detail, like really nice. I don't know what they charge for them, but like, that's something that, like, if I saw it,
it's a better look. That's fair.
I mean, when you look at it, Sting's WWE run was obviously cut short by the injury with the neck and everything, so he didn't have many matches. This is the one and only WrestleMania match. So, this is an iconic look, and it's an historical look, even though, it's kind of convoluted, the match. That's a different story, but it's the only true WWE
figure.
Yeah. I mean, there is the one with him in the black with the red patch coat, which obviously he wore in WWE, but like, this is the one. Yeah, this would be the one.
I agree. Let's move on to the next one though, because this is a retro series one. This one's funky and fun as could be.
Yeah.
In my eyes.
Mm-hmm.
It's a classic.
Mm-hmm.
This is, if you're a little kid, this is the Sting type of figure that I grew up with.
Yes.
And I just love it.
Yeah, this is one of those, like, that line. I personally have never collected these particular ones. I think they're kind of fun, if in the sense of like Funko Pops, like, just put it on the shelf. I guess kids would play with them, but obviously it's limited. I mean, the legs are, solid, which are great, I guess, for drop kicks and stuff like that. But it's not like you could, as a kid, you can't get the other guys in the Scorpion Deathlock or anything. But yeah, this is kind of a retro line that I don't personally, it doesn't appeal to me as a collector. As a kids, maybe they would be interested in it, but like, when you look at the other
I feel
options,
like it's a very targeted to kids product.
Yeah.
And so I have no issue with it, but I totally agree with you, right? Like, it's not one of those like, oh, I gotta have it. If I was a little kid, I see that at a Target, a Toys R Us, Best Buy, wherever you are. It's like, mom.
Yeah,
do the,
Yeah, I think it's a little kid. I think if adult collectors are getting it, it's either they're a completionist, diehard Sting, won anything that's produced with Sting, and it's a fun little piece to put on a shelf if you want just a touch of Sting. in your
Yes.
office or whatever. So yeah, it's kind of a cool little piece, but not something that I would buy.
Okay, you ready to get crazy though?
Let's get crazy.
Are you ready to get crazy? Because we're not even looking at WWE figures anymore. We're looking at AEW Sting
Mm-hmm.
out of the gates. Out of the gates, Rampage Authentic,
Mm-hmm.
full ring scale.
Yep.
Hold up, wait a minute. Ring included.
Yes.
You got to buy the whole play set to
Yes.
get this puppy, if you're even thinking about it. And not only that, what I'm most impressed by with this one, and I don't own it, I
Mm-hmm.
did some research in it.
Mm.
This thing comes with the wooden panels.
Oh, the ring. It does.
The ring comes with the wooden panels and a mat
Oh, that's awesome.
with adjustable ring skirts. And I was like a little bit like,
I gotta be honest. When I see stuff like that, the kid in me would have lost their
died.
mind with that stuff. Even I know Mattel did the old 90s Raw set, and it came with the ring with the skirt, and you could rip it up with the boards and all that other stuff. Like, I would have lost my mind. Like, when you look at the landscape of wrestling figures now, which it's kind of funny because I did see like a recent study that went, yeah, people in their 30s are buying, adults are buying figures more than children are. Like, it's the kids are glued to the video games now, and like the adults are like, no, but it's Sting. Like it's just great. But like, obviously when he went to AEW, Jazzwares, the people that were involved with that used to be Jax. They had made Sting figures in the past during his TNA run, so there were people that were involved. So they were familiar with what the Sting fans kind of wanted. So to release one of his first AEW figures that you had to buy a ring to get it, um, that's a calculated move because it's not just I'm going to buy like a $20 figure. I don't know what the ring went for, but it was a lot more than $20.
It
Uh,
was about 90, I believe, was the initial price. I
okay,
did a lot of research on this one because I was a little like, wait a minute, this happened and I missed it. It had the real wood, so
okay,
it's real wood panels
yeah,
for the ring itself.
mm-hmm,
Comes with the ring mat, and then it's cloth ropes,
yes,
2 sets of ring steps,
yeah,
and it came with Sting.
yeah,
And it's the first Sting figure you can get in the AEW line.
yeah,
It's one of the smartest figure releases
mm-hmm,
I've almost ever seen. And it's genius because it's the exact gear he wore. T-shirt and all, the
yeah.
long sleeves. It looks exactly how he looked.
And keep in mind, when there was a gap in Sting figures between when Mattel lost the license and
Yes.
Jazzwares picked it up.
Yes.
So the market was
Formerly
really
Jax.
the market was looking for a Sting figure and not looking to pay a premium on a secondary market for it.
Yes.
So this was the first one for people to look into. Obviously, the price tag for the ring is a little pricey, but completionists would want it. People with kids or adults in display rooms that wanted a ring too. Hey,
Once you
two
see the
birds, one
ring,
stone.
it's so gorgeous. It's one of
Yeah.
the coolest rings released too.
Mhm.
And like obviously we're talking Sting figures, Anthony, but like
Yes.
you're spot on there. It's one of the coolest rings
If I'm
that's
not
been put
mistaken,
out in a
this
long time.
if I'm not mistaken, I this was a ringside exclusive, was it not the ring?
I
Or
believe
am
it
I
was.
wrong? Yeah, okay.
I believe that's correct. Yes, it was. It's ringside exclusive.
Yeah, I thought
Um,
so.
but let's stay in the AEW
The land of belief.
Jazzwares
Yes,
category, and let's move on to our next one. We've got sorry, let me camera cut us here,
I
or
got it.
you're the man.
Yeah. So this one, if I'm not mistaken, I think it was a San Diego Comic Con exclusive last year, perhaps, or maybe the year.
2 years ago.
2 years ago, because obviously it's Punk. So, but
Yes.
yeah, this is the rare instance on a collision, if I'm not mistaken. It was Collision,
Correct.
right? Yes.
Correct.
CM Punk got the tag with the Icon Sting for the first and I believe only time in his career. And he donned the face paint. And Darby was in that match too, which oddly enough, I don't know why they didn't include Darby in a 3-pack, but whatever. That seems like a missed opportunity. But that's not going to happen again. But like when you think about it, when that happened, that moment, and Clark, I don't think you and I ever talked about this, so now will be the first time to do it. Um, you know, when Punk left the business in 2014, you know, after 7 years, we weren't expecting him to come back, and then he comes back, and then he ends up tagging with Sting, who was forced into retirement in between that period of
Multiple
Punk leaving
times.
the business and Punk coming back. So no one envisioned a CM Punk Sting tag team ever.
Never.
And for Punk, who say what you want about him for people that don't like him, he does have a tremendous amount of respect for the legends of this business.
Yeah.
So for him, it must have been like a little kid himself that he's donning the face paint and tagging with somebody that he
childhood dream.
Yeah, it's one of those things that you don't think it's going to happen. It was a special moment, and the fact that it's immortalized in this figure set. Now, obviously, this is a different type of figure set than we're used to.
It's non-traditional for sure.
It's
non-traditional. We'll get a look
and,
at it.
I mean, it's I'm not familiar too much with the type of thing.
To me, they look like big Legos.
Yeah,
and I hate to be that guy. Like, I don't want to sound like the Mark.
That's where my head was. Yes,
but like they look like big Legos, but I dig it at the same time.
Yeah, I mean, this is like a Diamond Select. Obviously, you can see from the packaging, it's a diamond. It's a Diamond Select Holiday Bash Venomates, which whatever Venomates are. Apparently, these are Venomates. It is funny because
I think that translates to big Legos. I think we actually just deciphered that.
I think we did. The more you know.
I think that
but this is one of those things. When I look at this now, I kind of want these.
No, they're more fun the more that you realize what it represents and stuff.
Yeah,
like you said, the one caveat is why is Darby not in the set?
Yeah,
dang it.
I mean, he's the one missing piece of this, and also keep in mind as you're looking at it, Sting is wearing a Punk shirt. Like
Very true.
That's special too. And like I said, this is the only representation of this tag match that's ever been made. Probably will be the only representation it'll ever get made.
But Darby does finally get represented in our next slide. Let's talk about our next figure. Wait, does he?
No, he's coming up. but this is the Jazzwares Unmatched Collection Series 2 Sting. This was the first Sting that was released without a ring, by AEW/Jazzwares. This one I do have. This is one of the things, and I don't even know if I've told you this, Clark. I tried to get Sting from each era. So I have a Surfer, I have Crow, Wolfpack, WWE, and I have the AEW. Never got a Blade Runners.
Classic one of each.
Yeah,
Did you get a Joker?
Yes, I have the Joker Sting.
Nice.
I also have, which is the one of only two that TNA did, which is in the previous episode, and I believe I mentioned it. But they never did Blade Runner Sting from Mid-South. I don't know why. I figured that would have been a Luminera one, but they never did. But yeah, this is a great look. It's obviously when you're releasing Sting, it's hard to be different when Crow Sting has been released multiple times. Obviously, it has the AEW shirt. The jacket's a little different because it has the gold in it, which is different than what you would normally see with Sting.
Absolutely.
And the likeness looks like Sting. In all seriousness, I think the face paint wrestlers or face paint characters in general are a lot easier to do because you don't really have to show wrinkles or any. You don't have to show any facial stuff because it's just a straight white paint.
Jeff Hardy's one of the greatest figures
Yes.
in WWE history. Like,
Mm-hmm.
and it makes perfect sense. I am in complete agreement on that.
Yep.
But let's actually get to the one
Yes.
that does
Well,
include
this
Darby.
this this
Not quite.
is
We're
this
one short.
this one is the Walmart one, which I believe half the face paint is Sting and the other half is Darby inspired.
So I hate to say this.
Yes.
I feel like this one is they gave it as like if you didn't get the ring one that we showed earlier. Am I wrong on that?
This is one that, like, one of the things that Jax was accused of, and again, this isn't Jax, but people that were involved with Jax, and I understand it for small companies and any toy company, really, you try to reuse stuff as much as you can, save money, it's more efficient. This is essentially the same exact Sting that we just looked at, minus the jacket and the face paint's a little different because it's the same shirt, same everything. But it's a different Sting, obviously, because it's the half Darby. For the completionists and the ones that are very big fans of, the buddy tag team, I could see why you would want this one. Me, I personally don't have this one, but this is kind of like Two-Face thing essentially. It's half and half. I think it's the best way to put it. But yeah, it's a fun Sting. Like pretty much most of them, but it's the Darby inspired one.
100%. I agree with you on that.
There we go.
Speaking of Darby inspired, okay, we're back.
Mm-hmm.
We've got skateboards involved. As a kid who played with tech decks and loved tech decks, I think I popped more kick flips on fake skateboards than I ever did on a real one. I had all the verts, the whole nine. Tony Hawk Pro Skater 2 was my steez. Anthony, to me, this is my favorite set that they've put out. I love that you get the skateboard. You basically get a free tech deck. You get the microphone. You get the bat. You get the chair. You get the stinger. Outside of getting the ring, I don't know if it gets better than that one.
I can't imagine you with the skateboard, Clark. Knowing how injury prone you've been over the years, I can't imagine how many injuries you have with a skateboard.
Mostly falling.
Yes, the gravity is not exactly your friend.
No, never has been.
Yeah, no, it's always putting you down.
Damn it, Fig Newton.
But
wait, what's his name? Isaac Newton?
Yes.
It's Newton.
Yeah,
he's got it. Jimmy Neutron. It's your fault.
Close enough. But yeah, this is the Amazon exclusive 2-pack. Obviously, this is Sting's last tag partner. This would ultimately be the man that Sting would hold his last set of tag titles, who would be in his last match as his tag partner. Obviously this was released prior to that, but Sting has publicly said that Darby was his best partner. I think an argument could be made. I think a lot of people would think it would be Lex, but that whole mentor protege was a nice way to go out with Sting. Like as many people have complained about stuff in AEW, and believe me, I did it constantly on Thursdays when I would cover Dynamite, but I was as fair as I could be. One thing that they nailed was Sting's run, because this was the run that for him to go out on the best possible terms for somebody that gave so much to the business and was so beloved for 40 years, for him to go out on his terms and not, due to an injury. And I don't blame WWE for not clearing him. It's a risk. I get it. AEW was willing to roll the dice with that. Sting was willing to roll the dice with that, but it was him and Darby was the buddy tag team that you didn't know how much you'd enjoy it until it was running. And
I totally agree. It worked way more than we expected. Like, this was one of those ones where I didn't see it going this well.
Yes.
and it totally did. It benefited everybody involved, and
Mhm.
that last match was gorgeous. Like,
When you think about it, the funny part is Sting had a weird type of relationship with Jeff Hardy,
right.
obviously because Jeff has had his issues. But again, there was that.
And Jeff's spoken about touching him over the railing.
Yeah, there was that connection there, the face paint, stuff like that. When you look at this, it almost looks like Jeff would be in the middle, that Sting would be the grandfather,
Yeah,
Jeff would be the son, and then Darby would be the grandson, because that's generationally, that's what
it
it
does
felt
work.
like. Like that's what it always felt like, because Darby is very much like Jeff.
I think that's a great way to put it. I
Yeah.
love the way you sum that up.
Yep.
Let's talk about a wild figure.
Yes. This.
This one is no joke, Anthony.
Yes. This is Diamond Select, the same people that made the Sting CM Punk set, are making statues of AEW people. They've done John Moxley, they're doing Bryan Danielson. I believe they're doing Jericho if they didn't already do them. And obviously Sting. And this is kind of a fun, this is, I don't want to say farewell Sting, but this was announced just before Sting said he was calling it quits. And so it's a very cool display statue piece for somebody that, you know, wanted a piece of Sting in an office or whatever, in media room, what have you. And there are not a lot of wrestling statues. Like realistically, very few people release wrestling statues when you think about it. Like, I mean, years ago, I believe McFarlane released a insane looking Macho Man, and some other ones. I think Austin as well. I kind of regret not getting the Macho Man one. It was pricey then, but it's insanely priced now. But this is not an overly expensive piece. I think it's about $60, give or take. Um, Matter of fact, another one that they released was the CM Punk, which is kind of
Right.
funny. Clark laughs. I literally bought it after he left AEW, because I'm going, just him visibly sitting there with a
Are they gonna
microphone,
make it again?
just him sitting there with the AEW banner underneath him. The pure irony. I was like, that and the ice cream one. And Clark, you don't know this. I'll reveal this live on air, or on tape for people that are watching this. Obviously, San Diego Comic-Con was today. They announced the Ultimate Money in the Bank 2011 CM Punk that was a ringside exclusive. I pre-ordered that, and I also threw in probably the only version of the Ring of Honor CM Punk that'll probably ever get made before Jazzworth pulls it. Um, but
So funny.
but I don't. But I obviously this isn't about CM Punk. But as you can see, it's a very cool Sting where he's standing on the step and kind of surveying with the bat, and he's always,
It's a non-playable figure.
yeah, it's a
This
statue.
is a statue,
Yes, it's a statue.
and it's brilliant for that. Like,
Yeah,
for what it's intended to be, it's
yeah,
gorgeous. It's arguably, and I don't want to knock it. We've done 2 episodes on Sting figures alone.
yes,
I think it's the prettiest one. If you're not concerned with moving the parts,
yes. Mm-hmm.
it's the prettiest one that we have
It
in the collection there.
when you look at it, it's, Sting has always been the WWE used the vigilante term, but he's always been that conscience, always on
Yes.
the side of right. I forget what the exact language was in the Starcade package, but whatever they called them. You know where I'm going with this, and anybody can look it up,
Yes.
but people have a rough idea where I'm going with this, hopefully. If not, YouTube it.
Either way,
But he's always been the surveyor of what's good in wrestling, the constant baby face. He was only
the
really a
moral
heel.
compass of pro
Moral
wrestling.
compass is the right word for it, but he was only a heel once in the Main Event Mafia, which I don't believe there was ever Main Event Mafia Sting.
It didn't work very well.
Yeah, but it was the only time he was ever a heel.
It's true.
I mean, other than he might have been a heel during the Blade Runner period, but I don't recall. But
Joker Sting was a bit of a heel.
Joker Sting was a wild card. The Joker Sting was an absolute wild card. But yeah, this is, if somebody, this is like a farewell retirement Sting piece. Like if you wanted like one final Sting piece to display,
this one's money.
This one's the money.
Let's get into our main event of the evening, our final figure of the evening.
Yes.
The coffin match.
Yes.
Jazwaree's unrivaled collection. This is a San Diego Comic-Con exclusive as well.
From last year. Yes.
From last year.
Mm-hmm.
This is BA, for lack of a better way to put it.
Mm-hmm.
What more could you ask for? You get the coffin, you get a clean Sting.
Mm-hmm.
A really clean Sting, and you'll never get that eye paint again like that. Never again. No. This is a one of one. Anthony, talk to me about it.
Yeah, this is kind of a special piece. When you look at it, the packaging, which it's funny, collectors love the packaging of things. Like it's very much, it's a display piece on its own. Let's just put it that way.
Totally.
But this Sting, just like the split face paint of the Derby, is very much, this is it. This is probably the only version you're going to get. Obviously, there's a few with Malachi. And the coffin itself, it has weathering, it has the metal chains, the interior has cloth. It's a very cool set, and it's one that like we're probably only ever going to see once. And I don't know what that set goes for now. I don't have it. But I can imagine that one's probably more on the pricier side, especially with the San Diego Comic-Con aspect to it.
100%. It's difficult to find is the craziest part, right? Like, sorry, it's just a difficult figure to find, period.
Yes.
It is. But it's a gorgeous one. And it's one that's completely worth buying. I mean, it's Sting figures never get old. My first LJN as a little kid is Surfer Sting. I've still got it. It's got a dog bite mark across the chest.
Of course it does.
From my old dog. But it's one of my favorite figures of all time. I love breaking down the Stinger, especially with my good buddy Anthony. That's going to bring us to the end of the show, absolutely, today.
Yep.
But we could talk about Sting figures and collectibles for the rest of our lives pretty much and never get tired of it. We will totally be back sooner than later this time. For real. So check that out. If you're not watching the daily, smash like and subscribe. Check that out at noon Pacific. That's 3 on the East Coast. It's 8 o'clock over in the UK. That's, of course, 9 a.m. in Hawaii. But most importantly, stay tuned because we've got more sold separately coming your way very shortly. Have an excellent day. Whenever you do watch this, it's Thursday when we recorded it. I just sold myself out. Someone edit that out. We'll talk about it later.